Okay? Now, where does the glucose come from? And for that matter, where does the oxygen come from that feed into this process? Well, that's where we're going with the next learning objective. There's an opposite process in some ways, a process that instead of using sugars, makes sugars. Instead of using oxygen, it makes oxygen. It's called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, I'm sure you know, happens in plants, but it happens in a particular part of plants. And we also want to understand what its changes are and how they relate to energy. Photosynthesis is how plants fix energy. That means sort of how they trap it, and also how they fix carbon. That means how they trap the carbon from carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is not biological carbon. It's not organic. But we're going to take that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere inside of plants, combine it with water, and make glucose out of it. And you'll see that if you add up the oxygens, there are too many oxygens from water and carbon dioxide to be included in glucose, so oxygen gas is also made as another product. But you might say, wait, that's the same reaction we saw just a few slides ago. It's glucose and oxygen on one side and carbon dioxide and water on the other side, but this is the direction that liberates energy. If you go in the other direction, where you start with carbon dioxide and water and go to glucose and oxygen, then don't you have to put in energy? And the answer is you do. Photosynthesis not only traps or fixes carbon into carbohydrates, including glucose, it also fixes or traps energy from the sun. It uses the energy of the sun. So the absorbance of light energy is the favorable process that is coupled to this unfavorable reaction so that they both happen and you end up making glucose and oxygen. The process of photosynthesis happens inside a part of plant cells that is a subcellular organelle, a little bit like a mitochondrion, but it's called a chloroplast. And it's from the Greek word for green because it's green. It has green light-absorbing pigments called chlorophyll. Those green light-absorbing pigments are found on little membranes in the chloroplast called thylakoid membranes. Those green particles absorb light energy, and they they use some of that energy to turn water into oxygen and to turn low energy compounds, ADP and NADP+, into high energy compounds, ATP and NADPH. Those high energy compounds are then used to take carbon dioxide and make sugar with it, glucose. All right, so the photosynthesis happens in the chloroplast. It's basically the reverse of cellular respiration, but it can happen because we're putting in energy from the light. This means that there is in the biosphere an interrelationship between photosynthesis in plants and cellular respiration in not only plants but everybody else. Photosynthesis happens in the chloroplasts. Here you can see what the thylakoid membranes look like. They're these little stacks. They are green because they have light-absorbing chlorophyll, and that absorbs the energy of light, and that energy gets put into making glucose and oxygen. Glucose and oxygen are then combined in oxidation reactions, not only inside the plants, but also inside animals and bacteria and everybody else in the biosphere. In all of us eukaryotes, it happens in an organelle called a mitochondrion. And in the mitochondrion, we do cellular respiration, and we use the energy that is released by the oxidation of glucose to make ATP, and that is what we do cellular work with. That's how we do the unfavorable things that have to get done to be a living organism. The product of cellular respiration is carbon dioxide and water, and those products are exactly what need to be fed in to photosynthesis. So we have this interdependency. We breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Plants breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. Plants make glucose and we burn it. And the system is all self-supporting. But it all depends on bringing energy in from the sun. If the sun were to go out, then everything in the biosphere would die, because there wouldn't be an input of energy to make glucose and oxygen, and so there would be no energy available for any of the cells. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about that. The sun's going to stick around at least until the end of the semester, probably until the end of the next billion years. So hopefully this little unit helps us to understand a bit about metabolism and how it relates to life, to change, that energy drives change, and that change is living things. And I look forward to learning with you the other units about life.